You only live twice. No, wait, that's not how it goes. Well, it did for James Bond. So, here we have You Only Live Twice, which introduces the space age and a precursor to Moonraker, you know. And so basically all you got here is this plot by Spectre, of course, of trying to cause a war between the Soviet Union and the United States, and with them to emerge victorious after the two have knocked themselves out with whatever radioactive ashes are left for them to rule. You know, if you watch Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, there was that same plot happened with the Red Skull. Yeah, that's what he was going to do. But that's basically the game plan of Spectre, and they pit them against one another, typically for profit. But here, this would have, what if it had worked? You know. But nevertheless, and the thing about Spectre, and that's true of all supervillains and whatnot, is like they have amazing amount of resources to send up their own spaceship to go up and grab the capsules of the Americans and the Russians. You know, it's just literally like an alligator in space, and it swallows it up and all that. And it's like, what are you doing? You've got all this stuff. Just live your life. You got it going on. But you know, they want it all. So that's the way it goes. So America's already, all right, the Soviets did it, and you know, this is an act of war. You took our ship and all this stuff, and ended up killing one of their astronauts because he was outside doing a spacewalk, and well, Spectre didn't wait for him to get back in the capsule, so well, there he goes. And so they're all mad, you know, and they're blaming the Russians for it. They're like, well, no, it was not us, you know. And then the British come in and said, well, we have no evidence that it was the Soviet Union. We actually are following up on a lead that leads to Japan. And so the Americans, oh, that's ridiculous. And, of course, the idea that it was Japan is like, well, why would they do that? You know, and so it's, well, it's not necessarily the Japanese, but it's someone from within. It's Spectre. Come on. And so, and of course it is, they have a secret facility, another one, underneath a, well, at the time, dormant volcano. And this is where they're having their whole space operation from, and they've been contracted by some guys, and I'm already dropping and forgetting who they were. But anyway, that was the idea for Spectre. And then Spectre screws them over and says, hey, you're going to have to pay some more and all that stuff. Meanwhile, they don't even care about the other guys. They just want the war for their own. So, you know. So James Bond, he's already in Japan in bed with a girl. You know, that's how you do the job. It's tough work, but someone's got to do it. And but she's setting him up to get shot. And but it's all a setup to make Spectre think James Bond is dead. Of course, he isn't. So hence the title. He lives again. And so he goes, still got to figure out where the operation is, how it's working, and all that sort of stuff. And that's all well and good. And it's the same thing. The guy you think is the boss is just a pawn. You got to get through him and all this stuff. He sends his murder girl to go get him. And of course, they have sex first, but then try to kill each other. And, well, she ends up getting eaten by piranhas because she didn't kill Bond, you know. But didn't count on Bond. I mean, she tried to kill him by locking him in a plane and setting it on a collision course with, you know, the Earth, and dives out. But he just easily got out of the dumb board that was slapped over his hand, and he just in time manages to lift the plane enough to where it still crashes somewhat, but he's able to get out before it explodes. And so it's like, you know, it's like the old joke: if you catch James, just shoot him. Don't try to, you know, put him in an elaborate trap, you know, like he's Batman. And no, just shoot him. But they never do. So yeah, so that's the price for her failure. She becomes you know, piranha poop. And So the other cool scene they have, and they featured in the posters and stuff. Well, of course, all the lovely Japanese girls bathing him and stuff. That's all great. But was the little do-it-yourself helicopter he had with, again, all kinds of Batman weapons on it, and he has a dogfight with the Spectre helicopters, which he was there poking his nose around the volcano. You know, they're suspecting something about it, but he's looking at it and he's like, I'm not really seeing anything. And then here come the helicopters, which is like, okay, there's something here. Just let him go. He might never have found the place, but yeah, you have the spectacular dogfight, which thank goodness Spectre cannot shoot straight. You know, it's like stormtroopers, and but it is so cool. Says where one of them, I got Bond dead to rights, and then he hits the flamethrower. He's got retro flamethrowers, and it just burns the helicopter. So, you know, and of course he finishes them all off. And so now they know there's something up there. People discover there's some woman who was on a boat nearby, went into one of the caves and came out dead. And they're like, hey, what's going on here? You know? And that's all well and good and stuff. But then they go through this thing, I guess, to showcase Japanese culture and stuff like that, which there was plenty of stuff to do that with, but they decided they had to make James Bond look Japanese. And they failed miserably. And then he had to marry one of the Japanese agents. It's like, I don't know. Just they'll believe the cover of this guy showing up. He's just some fisherman, you know. He just got married, and no. So, of course, one of the girls, Aki, was the first one he met with, and she was always saving his life. He nearly gets killed several times, and she saves him. So, you know. And then for her reward, another attempt to kill her. She saves his life again, but this time she gets poisoned. That was meant for him, and dies. You know. So they have to set him up with another girl, Kissy, and that's the one he marries. For whatever, I guess because the guy was playing with him, the Japanese secret intelligence guy named Tiger, was yeah, this girl's got a face like a pig. Well, she doesn't. So, but it's like they set it up that James Bond had, you know, a good amount of feelings for Aki, but she dies, and it's like, damn it. So then the next day he's just like, oh boy, this next girl's gonna look like a pig. Oh well. So well, she wasn't. So I guess the guy was just, you know, pulling his leg or whatnot. And but I just found the whole thing. It just, I don't know, to stretch out the movie or whatever. It seemed rather meaningless. Perhaps the book explained it better, but you know, it didn't seem all that necessary. I mean, it's another Japanese agent that he hooks up with. She's hot, and you know, they do the deed. Well, that's right. She kept avoiding that, so I guess I don't know that he ever did, because at the end they end up in the lifeboat, but then the British submarine comes up from beneath it, so they don't really have time to get it on. So that's one time it didn't work out so great. But anyway, yeah, they find the secret base under the volcano. It looks like there's this it's full of water, you know, but that's just painted. And well, it worked. And so, of course, Bond ends up destroying it all and defeating them. Well, actually, Blofeld sets the self-destruct mechanism of the place, so they have to leave, which sets off the volcano, and they're just floating in their lifeboat, or life raft, rather, in the ocean off the side. You weren't far enough away to get away from the devastation of a volcano eruption, because there's all that toxic crap that spews out. So, would not have survived that, not at that distance. But, well, we'll just chalk it up to, it's mostly just the Spectre explosions, and that was that. And, of course, Blofeld managed to escape. Boy, did you catch his cat freaking out when the shooting was happening? That cat was losing it. But anyway, apparently they had some other actor, I forget his name, that was supposed to be Blofeld, but he looked too much like Santa Claus. So then they brought in Donald Pleasance, and they went for the scar on his face. and then you never see it again because I guess Blofeld can regenerate like James Bond. So he will regenerate into Telly Savalas in the next movie. So that fixes the scar. Plus, another precursor actor who will be Blofeld was in this film too at the very early part. It's a very small role. He was the British connection for James Bond to connect with the Japanese secret intelligence, and he's killed off pretty quickly. But he'll be Blofeld, and Diamonds Are Forever. So I guess Blofeld saw that guy and thought, you know what, I'm going to regenerate into that guy. So. I think so far of the films that this is probably the weakest one. There's cool stuff in it, all that kind of thing, but maybe a bit too far here and there. At this time, I don't know what the negotiations were, but it seemed like this was Connery's last time in the role. That didn't turn out to be the case, but nevertheless, for all intents and purposes, it appeared he had retired from it. I think Her Majesty's Secret Service was supposed to be the film that they were going to do, but for the purposes of the location shots at the time, they didn't want to do it, so they jumped ahead to this one or something like that. I can't remember the whole story. That's how that works. But it does get made, but so. Yeah, there's a lot about it I enjoyed. Primarily the music, of course. John Barry is if your Bond music doesn't sound like John Barry, at least, then it's not really a Bond film. It's gotta have John Barry. And the theme song, not a big fan of Nancy Sinatra, but this is a really good theme song. I like it a lot. It's very good and stuff like that. And there's of course great Bond moments in it and all that stuff. So it's not like it's terrible or anything, but it's just I think it's the more flawed one. In the line of films so far that they did for the Connery era. So there you go. You Only Live Twice, which probably featured the definitive and best performance of Blofeld by Donald Pleasence. Yeah. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com, and you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh my goodness, so many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.